Peace and blessings, community. I am having the pleasure and honor today to sit with a Crown Campaign champion that has been really trailblazing and being a forerunner around ending hair discrimination in Texas, Tatum, Texas, more specifically. And we have with us today, we're going to be having a candid conversation with an unfiltered lived experience expert, Miss Randi Woodley. So welcome into the virtual room, Miss
Yes,
Randi.
ma'am. Well, thanks for having me.
I would love to begin with just having an open question, like when did you and your family first experience hair discrimination in Tatum?
So on August 1st of 2019, I ran into hair discrimination while registering my grandson into school.
Wow. What was the issue that you were coming up with registering him?
Well, after finishing registration, I was told that I needed to see the principal. And I'm thinking, the principal? School ain't even started. And I went to see the principal, and she explained to me that my grandson's hair was too long and that I had two options. I could either braid it and pin it up, or I had to cut it. And I didn't like either of those options. For me, braiding is fine, but you want me to pin it up. You want me to put bobby pins or barrettes or something in my grandson's head. And we're talking about an active Head Start kid, and I couldn't see putting bobby pins in his hair. I mean, I don't know about you, but my grandson may take it out and play swords with it and damage somebody else's child. So I wasn't comfortable. So I requested to see the superintendent, and I went to see the superintendent.
So what does the previous grooming policy entail? Like, what were the specific things that at the superintendent level they had to consider when taking your meeting?
When taking a meeting?
Taking your meeting when you had the issue about the hair, like what was it in the policy that they were kind of standing behind?
Okay, so initially I didn't know the policy. So from the principal's office, I went directly to the Board of Education and spoke with the superintendent.
Okay.
And that's when the story gets thick. That's where it gets funny. Because at that point, meeting with the superintendent, he and I was talking in his office, and I mentioned to him that, you know, the principal has given me two options and I don't like either option. And so he told me, well, he'll give me three options. And he gave me the option to either cut it, braid it and pin it up, or I could put my grandson in a dress. And when prompted, when he's asked if he's a boy or girl, he needs to say that he is a girl, because that would show him transitioning into becoming a transgender. At that point, all bets was off. And so I thanked him for his time, and I told him I'll be fighting him on that, because I was appalled. I was floored. I was floored.
That's not the response you expect, reaching out for help.
Again, I was livid, because I felt like had I looked like him, he wouldn't have given me that third option. I felt like, how dare he suggest, and not that there's anything wrong with transgender, but my grandson at that time was 4.
Right.
He wasn't transitioning into nothing. And I was outdone, because I felt like, how dare you tell me to put my Black grandson in a dress?
Right.
So all bets was off at that point.
Yes, totally agreed. So at that time, did you see yourself as a community leader or advocate before you begin with putting these boxing gloves on?
No, ma'am. I mean, I've always stood for what's right. I mean, I've always had morals and integrity, but I've never had to defend my position on anything, if that makes sense. I've never, if something came up, I spoke against it. I stood up for what I believed in, but I've never had a personal fight until this fight.
So just to fill in the blanks of by the time we stepped in, what had you already done before you reached out to Crown Campaign around the advocacy component?
For me, it's been long and hard. Initially, the first thing I wrote is I took to social media because that's all I knew. Before this, I was just a simple Black grandmother raising her grandson. I mean, I'm not real savvy with the computer. I only went as far as high school. So all I knew is to make a Facebook post. And I wrote a Facebook post and I shared it. And it caught the attention of a lot of people. And it caught the attention of one lady in Pennsylvania who offered to write a petition to change.org for me, to help me. And I agreed because I was looking for help from anybody that would listen, anybody that took the time to hear my cry, because I was literally crying. So prior to that, we did the petition. I staged a protest. I'm on unemployment. I'm not employed. I wasn't employed last August, and I'm not employed this August. And so I was on unemployment back then. And I would receive my unemployment check, and I would go to Lowe's and get my own poster boards, and I'd get my own piece of wood, and I sat in my living room and cut steaks to make my own poster boards. And I was on limited income, but this was my grandson. And by that time, it had really gotten messy in the school system because we would have interactions. So it wasn't just that one interaction was it. No, we've had many interactions. And so I have had to go full throttle.
What were some things that the school began to do when Tink was going to school and still was not adhering to the current school policy dress code?
Okay. So on the first day of school, this all started August 1st. So on the very first day of school, I had Tink's hair braided. Now, my grandson's hair grows natural. I wear locks. He has nothing in his hair. He has no locks. His hair is growing naturally out of his pores. And so I thought to myself, okay, I felt like this was discrimination. I was going to fight. I was going to do all I can do. But my grandson's education was important. So because the only way I could send him to school was have his hair braided. So I braided it. I had it braided for the first day of school, professionally braided, and I had it pent up by bobby pins. And I sent him to school. The very first day of school, they sent him home along with the letter. And the letter told me that he was still out of compliance. And so I contacted the school to find out, okay, why is he still out of compliance? And they told me that his braids were still too long. So I started taking pictures of Tink every morning before I would send him to school, and I was posting it on Facebook. And I decided to change the name of my journey, and I adopted the word village because it took a village. So my webpage is The Village. And I would post pictures of the way that I sent Tink to school every day. And he was in compliance. And so I obtained an attorney, they got an attorney, and I was told they're violating. They were violating Tink's rights for freedom of speech and expression. And so I was advised by my attorney that because he was coming home every day complaining about his head hurting, we decided to go ahead and just take the braids down and put him in a ponytail, just a simple ponytail, and send him to school. At that point, the school contacted me in the morning to let me know that I had two choices. I could come and pick him up, or they were going to keep him in the office all day, every day, until I get his hair in compliance. So every day I would send him to school. The school bus would pick him up at my front door because we're talking Head Start. So they come to the house to pick up the child.
Right.
And I would send him to school every day. And every day they would take him from the school bus directly into the office, where he had to sit with the office secretary all day by himself. He wasn't allowed to have lunch with the other students. He wasn't allowed to have recess with the other students. There was no learning with the other students. My only option was to know that I sent him to school knowing he was going to be isolated, or cut his hair.
This is just painful to hear. And I was with you through the journey, but just rehearing it again, it still cuts hard to know that a 4-year-old child would have to experience this level of discrimination, and this is his first experience in school. This is his first exposure to what school to prison pipeline agenda looks like, because they were already trying to criminalize him before he even began the journey. That is painful, just even as an outsider hearing it. But I guess that leads to the next question of, how did you manage, Randi? Like, this is your grandbaby. One thing we haven't lifted up yet is the criminal court side of how they use the judicial system to attack you and have racial bias show up. But I just want to ask, like, how did you survive? Seems like a small word to express what you've gone through, because you're still experiencing it. But can you tell us a little bit about, how did you make it? You know, what kept you going when all the hits started coming?
So I know the right answer, right? And so I know that everybody that'll be watching this interview will say, oh, well, God did it. And ultimately he did. But I have to be honest with you all, because that's all I know. You know, that's it. That's all I know. This wasn't easy. Man, I contemplated suicide, and I know, because I am, for the record, I am still in court. I was arrested not once, but twice because of this. And so I know that, and I've had custody of my grandson since he was 4 months. And so I know that I'm limited to what I can say, and hopefully no one will use this against me, but mentally suicidal all the time. And I say mentally because I've never tried it. You know, I don't need somebody to say she's unstable, let's go get that baby. No, I'm very stable.
Right.
But for me, being honest with you and whoever else sees this, man, this was hard. I would lay in a fetal position and cry. I would beg God to take me. I would beg God, like, and God would remind me that I may have to be Job. You know, but I would beg him, like, no, God, I don't want to commit suicide because my religious belief says that I'll go to hell. But there was a part of me that felt like hell got to be better than this. And so it was hard. I went to jail twice. I went to jail in the presence of my grandson. They knocked on my front door and arrested me and charged me with child endangerment, because I continued to send him to school. Now, there's a big, almost 8-9 months gap that you and I left off because we don't have that kind of time. But to jump fast forward, I've been arrested. My son has been arrested. They've sent CPS to my home. And in every time, God has been faithful. When CPS came to the house, unannounced, CPS, before they knocked on my door, they had to go check on Michael at school. And so Tink, for the record, Tink's name is Michael. Okay, Tink is my nickname. But CPS, you know, when you get a tip, they want to talk to the child. They would prefer to talk to the child outside of the parent if the parent is the person that's being accused,
Mm-hmm.
because, you know, they don't want the child to be intimidated with the parent. So because he was at school, they went and talked to him first. And
Mm-hmm.
CPS found him at school. And anything that I said is documented. I have paperwork. CPS found him at school in a room, all alone, in distress and crying because there was no supervision. You have a 4-year-old in a classroom by himself. And when CPS went into the room, there was no supervision, no other students in the room, and he was crying. And CPS came to then left the school and came to my home to tell me how they found him. But they were coming to my home because there was accusations of guns and drugs. And so when they came to my home, they closed it. I actually did a video, you know, but they closed it immediately because they found us to be in compliance. I mean, everything at my home was in order, and those were lies, you know. But so when you ask, how did I make it? Only by the grace of God. But I don't want to say that I just walked through with faith, because I didn't. It was just that God would not allow me to give up. God would not allow me to quit because I wanted to. And I was by myself. I'm in the middle. I'm born and raised in Compton, California. I moved to Tatum, Texas. Tatum, Texas is so small. We don't even have a stoplight. We don't have a stoplight nowhere. But it's one of the richest towns in the state of Texas. It's just small.
Mm-hmm.
And so, man, it was hard. I couldn't go to the grocery store. Man, so I took this journey by myself. I mean, I had a lot of support online, but as far as right here with me, so yeah, I mean, how did I survive? By the grace of God, because I wanted to be out of here a long time ago.
Yeah. You know, Randy, what I love about your expertise is that you're so transparent. Like, uh, even with the legislative fight to get the Crown Act and to protect people, it's the lived experience and the real stories of your survival that are so important to give people hope. Because you may want to fight, but you need to know what fighting looks like. And you sharing your story is the realness, that unfiltered truth. Like, it's not that one picket sign and you win. No,
Oh, no,
this
ma'am.
is, you had to survive attacks. You had to survive threats. You had to
Death
survive
threats.
not feeling safe in your home. You've had to survive going to jail. This has impacted you economically as well, because this is holding over you being able to get a job. This is holding over people wanting to work with you. So it's there's so many layers to what it looks like to be a fighter and a leader in mobilizing to end hair discrimination. And I know people may not understand that. So I appreciate you sharing your truths and your realness, because excuse me, we need the untold story. You know, we have the cliche that we use. You know, you don't know the cost of this oil. You don't know the story behind the
Mm.
glory, and what you've had to endure and what you are still enduring currently, because you're still facing criminal charges. You know,
Yes,
these
ma'am, I am.
are overwhelming. It is hard to have to address alone, and so we wanted to make sure that we gave you a platform to give your unfiltered truth, what is going on, and then also talk about the upside of where things are, um, and then what's next. You know, how can we move forward? Not only how can we support the work that you're doing on the ground still, but also how can we personally support the legal cost that is taken to fight this, even down to having the resources to get signs done there and whatever it is you need for the advocacy. We want to make sure that we can connect how people can get in contact with you in order to be able to do that. So are you able to pretty much share where things are? I know we have a success to lift up, so I don't want to miss that. We made sure we put that on our front page because we were so super excited to hear about the success. But let's start there. So, what has happened in this past few weeks that we can celebrate with Tatum?
Okay. If you don't mind, you said something, and I just want to run past that really quick. A lot of times, I want people to understand when you've truly made up your mind that you are going to stand up for discrimination. It doesn't matter whatever type of discrimination, but when you've made a conscious decision that this is going to stop on your watch, make sure that you know what you're doing. You're right. This journey has cost me in getting jobs. Because I was charged with child endangerment for not cutting his hair, and because I continued to send him on the school bus, when you see that child endangerment, when you're an employer or anybody, you see the word child, all bets are off. You don't know that you could be charged child endangerment for sending your kid to school every day for not conforming to what someone else say is acceptable. So I just wanted to run past that because I've had jobs to tell me that no, I've never been charged. I've been charged, but I have not been found guilty. But just those charges alone. So I just wanted to say that, you know, that's a big deal. Now, update. Tatum ISD, and ISD stands for Independent School District. So Tatum Independent School District has decided to change their dress code policy. I had brought forth discrimination on gender as well as color because their original handbook dress code says that men or males cannot wear their hair, and they list certain hairstyles. And so it said ponytails, rat tails, man buns, or puff balls. And so puff balls really got me because I'm not sure of another race or nationality that can put their hair in a puff ball, but I felt like that was very discriminatory. I mean, period. And I also, you know, was upset with discriminatory against gender because they found that Tink's ponytail is too long, but a young lady in his class can have a ponytail. So I felt like there was an issue. You know, it's not disruptive or a distraction if Mary Beth wears it, but if Michael wears it, then it's a problem. And so I had a problem. But as of this year, 2020 going into 2021, they've changed the hair policy. And now it says that it is gender neutral and that men and female, male and female, just needs to come to school neat and clean and no extreme hair color. So praise God. Yeah, they changed it.
That is so good. I know one of the things that we had with Tatum ISD that we challenged them on was the language that they were using. And we were happy to submit that documentation to just call them out and condemn them as a whole school district because of the language that they were using. I mean, we were able to see in the updates that they did take out the Afro Puff, which was definitely some trigger words that we were like, this is not okay. This is very racially specific. We were just so taken aback. Even with the win of even calling them on it, they decided to shut down the whole pre-K program.
Now, isn't that sad? That's sad.
Absolutely, that's sad.
Instead of doing what's right, you're going to take away government funding program for all children. They took away the whole Head Start program. They didn't want to deal with it because Head Start, as a government agency, said that they don't have a dress code policy. And because Michael was only in Head Start, we're not even talking kindergarten, we're talking Head Start. The Head Start program sided with me that he's not in your district. He's a part of the Head Start program that happens to be utilizing classrooms at your school. And so because they sided with me, Tatum said, you know what? We're gonna just get rid of the whole Head Start program. So now it's what we say. And they took it away. And still ultimately changed their dress code. I just wish that it was prior to my arrests. Just a whole lot of stuff. But I understand this is what I had to go through in order to get us here. And we're here now.
Thank you for your sacrifice, for real. Like, we don't take it lightly. Everything that's on the line for you. And I can't say it as if it's past tense, because this is your lived experience right now. And this is one of the reasons why we wanted to highlight the expertise that you are carrying now. Like, there is no one better as an expert in Tatum, Texas on changing policy than you. And don't you let nobody else tell you any different.
Well, thank you.
We need you. And this is one of the reasons why we were happy to celebrate you as a leader. Like, you are really doing your thing and creating change. And we wanted to spotlight what you've done for advocating, even starting the hashtag I Stand With Tink last year. We got on board with that and have been sharing your content and your information. And we wanted to just celebrate you publicly here as well.
Thank you.
I wanted to give you your Change Agent Award for your tireless efforts in service and boldly taking a stand and making change for Crown and your community in school policies and fighting against systemic racism, protecting yourself and your family.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Your expertise that, you know, other people with lived experience, other grandmas and moms that are walking this journey and wanting to stand up and take that stand. We've been sharing your story of inspiration with them, and I'm happy that they get to hear it directly firsthand from you now, that you're changing many lives locally and nationally as you share your experiences. So we're
thank you so much
for championing change for your grandson, Tink, and that it produced history-making changes, protecting children now and in the future in Tatum Independent School District.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Thank you. I never imagined. I just wanted to send him to school with a ponytail. That's it.
We are so grateful that you have committed very early on. Like, I remember talking to you last year. You said, "I'm here. I'm in it. I'm ready to advocate whatever it takes." And thank you for taking the lead to get even the school system to look at themselves differently. And we're hoping that whatever else it is in the future that you want to continue to push for and create change around, that we and other people within the Texas community and nationally in the Crown Campaign Village, that we can stand beside you and advocate with you for whatever else it is that's discriminatory that you want to fight against. How can someone get in contact with you if they wanted to sow a seed into the work that you're doing around discrimination in Tatum, and if they want to just sow a seed into your family for what you've already sacrificed? How can they get in contact with you?
Well, you guys, I'm sorry. I don't have a special email or anything. I'm on Facebook. This is an ongoing journey. You know, for me, I have to clock in tomorrow. I have to check in every Tuesday to a bail bondsman. I'm still out on bail from this charge that I was charged with way back October 25th. So for me, I'm on Facebook. I don't go anywhere due to the pandemic, not just the pandemic, you know, I'm out on bail. So I don't have a special, you know, I'm on Facebook, and that's Randi, Randi, Hogan, Hogan, Woodley, Wood as in David, Ley. So I'm just on Facebook. I don't have any other source of social media.
So
I don't have a Twitter or Instagram. It's just me.
Okay, so they can contact you on Messenger. They can direct message.
Sure, they sure can. They sure can. Awesome. Yeah, and if they want to sow a seed for my legal fees or anything else, they can reach me through Messenger and we'll correspond like that.
Incredible. We're absolutely happy to celebrate you and to lift up the leadership that you're showing in Texas and just celebrate the fact that you're still pushing. And this is one win of many that'll come. And as Texas even mobilizes at the state level to pass the CROWN Act statewide, we're still looking to champions like you to talk about the story of what it means to have that. Because with that protection, you would have been able to fight a little different. So you didn't wait for it. You didn't wait for the state to pass. You said, no, I have some things I need to do right now.
Well, hopefully once the pandemic is lifted, we can get the CROWN campaign here because we're in the South and there is a lot of discrimination against hair. I mean, a lot of it, period. And so I cannot wait till you guys can get to Texas and I can be a part of the grassroots, getting it up and running.
You're going to be leading. You are our Texas representative. So.
Okay, well, we should probably end the interview because I'm going to tell you how I'm not that smart to just lead it. Like,
no. You
need a voice, but I can't do nothing behind the computer. I'm about to sit here and just. I'm trying to, if you notice, I'm sitting like this the whole interview because I'm scared to move around. So all of the technical stuff, y'all can have
some partners that can help you with that.
I'll pass the flyers. I'll knock on the doors.
I love it.
I'll pass the flyers. I'll tell them, no, sister, let me tell you my story.
Yes,
that'll be me.
Absolutely.
But the technical, y'all can have that.
No worries. We'll find some millennials that can help us in that area.
Don't they know everything? They know everything.
Thank you. Thank God for millennials. They teach us so much.
Yes.
Awesome.